All right. I'm going to start with this group over here. Whoever the reporter is, come on up.
Oh, dear.
At least in the packet.
Read your notes, Gracie. Good luck.
I don't know how I got to be the spokesperson, but I had some wonderful help. Can you hear me okay? All right. I feel like it's projected.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Well, we did have to start with the premise that there is a community that we live in, that we all need to have water, sewer, public safety. Garbage is a worldwide problem. Lights, roads, and bridges. We got that going because we know that in every city and every place we live, there's been garbage issues. The process that we went through was listening to one another and talking about going forward. Looking at the four alternatives, we had one individual that would like to continue to do the alternative 2. We didn't vote with hands, but we did have a good discussion with backing up and looking at the process. And the suggestion to convene the 3 entities, the conference center, the college, and the town, with the possibilities for community gathering of information, since these are the 3, particularly the college and MRA, with the population of the people that come and the garbage that they collect. We know that there's been history, we know there's been discussion, we know that sometimes we have not been part of the listening or the creativity, but we did have 1 or 2 great suggestions concerning the possibility, which could have been considered in the past, of proper cans that are sitting at your driveway, and the dumpster comes and picks it up and brings it, so everyone would look alike on the street with cans. That was one thing, looking at the possibilities of that. The other persons in our group looked at alternative 3, but the real concern that most of this group had, from what I could together, and I got going again with Montreat residents using or having a facility of the dumpster at a site so that they could dump it, even if it's a car that goes through, so that they can go down and access garbage. We know that there is the heavy Saturday morning rental and conference people leaving. But as far as, institutions, I think this is really the 3 institutions convening and
What we said was to have a collaboration among the 3 institutions that could be created and open-ended and not just, here's the way we're going to do it, and thinking about the positives rather than throwing up roadblocks at the beginning, to see creatively a community-wide solution could be made.
so that Venn diagram that overlaps is that little center part.
It's not bifurcated.
Is that
That's a
right?
good idea.
All right, next, the group that was sort of in the center back here.
I think the trick is not to be the one taking notes. All right, our group had several ideas. We mostly just talked about the things we like and the things that we don't want to have happen and things that were important to us as individuals. And the 3 main things that came up, one of the ideas that we all kind of got excited about is that there be some kind of key card system to get into the convenience area and create it into a convenience type of area. So you reconfigure it a little bit to make it where you didn't have the liability issues and you didn't have the difficulty in tossing. So most folks in the group were interested in retaining delivery, the regular pickup, because we really like that. But did like to have the idea of being able to access the dumpsters, thinking that there could be some kind of key card system, and because it would be recorded, if there was some unusual trends going on with the card, you could ask what's up with that. and find out if they're handing it to all their friends at Black Mountain, or if maybe they just have to come down each day to do a little bit. So anyways, that was sort of the most popular. We spent a lot of time talking about what that would look like. Another idea was just alternative 4, keep it like it is, and subsidize the issues of other people dumping, because it is that important to people to have that access. Then a third idea, not everybody was on board with it, but the idea of having a convenience center only, open certain hours on certain days, and you would haul your own stuff to the convenience center. There was a lot of pros with that as far as expenses and the way we recycle, etc. But not as many people were as interested in that one, just because people do like, a lot of the people in our group really like the ability to have it picked up from their home, especially with the idea of winter and snow and not always being able to access places that we want to access, but somehow those trucks can get to us. I'd rather that truck come up to me than you have to drive down. Yeah, a lot of people were concerned about the idea of having to pay though, as we go. So.
Thank you. The group that was back in this corner.
Our group had our 4 suggestions. One, we feel very strongly that the service, we should have free access for residents in Montreat, and probably the same idea of a key or a card to get in the gate. 2, we feel there's a credibility gap in the community about all the dumping that's going on. We're wondering whether we actually put in some cameras and let's just see, in fact, how many people are coming into the dump to dump off garbage. 3, there used to be, back in the day, like a dump truck outside the gate that people, when they left town, they could just throw it in the truck versus throwing it inside the gate, so maybe that could be explored. And 4, it appears that the town, Montreat College and MRA each have their own garbage service. That just seemed inefficient to us, and maybe there's a way we can combine this and get some cost savings.
If I remember right, there was a group in the center at the very back.
I did not take notes, however. I did not take notes, however, I was voted most neutral in my group.
Put you in a pickle.
Apparently that's the new superlative. Don't you use that pejorative.
That's right.
All right, a couple points. Although it has not been said, certainly our sanitation staff has done an excellent job, and we're all very grateful to them for the work they do. They're efficient, they're pleasant, they let you chase the truck and come and pick up your bag when you're trying to catch them, and all sorts of other nice things too. So we're very pleased with the town services and the people that are providing that service to us. Couple of points was Montreat is a town for visitors and transient people passing through, whether they're seasonal or winter or part-time. And so there is going to be a need, an underlying need in sanitation to provide for the collection. Humans are trashy. 2, humans are opportunistic about trash. Wherever there is a can or receptacle, they will put it, and if there's not one, they will put it just wherever. We do have some facilities provided by public trash cans, if you will, provided by the college and MRA here. Two, let's see. One question came up about the possibility of contracting out services completely. That had been done in the past. It's being done in some other municipalities, so just a question of whether or not that was a reasonable or feasible way to approach this, and whether the quality of service would be acceptable. Another question that came up was whether it would be possible to revisit the consolidation of services, since other institutions in town, the college and MRA, are using other providers, not the town. There have been some issues in the past about the frequency and the volume of trash, and whether or not the town services were really geared up or ramped up in a way to provide those to the satisfaction of those two institutions, either of those institutions. We talked about swipe cards and IDs and ways to show that someone is a taxpayer using the service, or a user of a cottage here temporarily, family or renter or otherwise visitors. Safety and the attraction of bears. We live among wildlife. They would argue that we're the interlopers, and so how we protect against attracting bears and putting everyone at risk for bears coming into the community and seeking out trash is an overriding concern as well. I would say of the alternatives, we thought the third one, that eliminate curbside service, was probably the least popular. There are issues about how to equitably offer sanitation service with convenience and without unfair or undue a portion of cost to taxpayers or the users. How do you balance those issues? Whether people felt forced to buy bear-proof containers at their own expense. The probably infeasible use of carts, large carts that are being used in other municipalities. One, the rolling out of them in our topography, and two, they're being left down at the street, and three, the bears can open them. And anybody going back and toss stuff in it. Another issue is if we move to a town of 750 bear-proof containers, what does that do to the view and the ambiance of the town? I personally have just been affected by a town right-of-way bear-proof container now being my front porch view. I had no advance notice of it, and there's no permit required or notification to neighbors, and it's there. So I think that's something we want to be thinking about as we walk around, if we want to look at 700 bear containers. Any other, did I miss anything else on?
Question about recycle on number one.
Oh, I didn't go through the alternatives directly, but one question was how we handle recycling under number one. That wasn't specified. And two was finding some way of identification. Three was the least popular, probably, or viable from our perspective. I think that's it.
Thank you. The group that was right over here.
We came down and we would favor alternative 1 or 2, leaving that decision to the town council. And essentially, number 3 obviously was our least favored choice, eliminating the service. But we felt that we were in favor of bear-proof containers, I would say. We were wondering whether maybe perhaps the cottagers or some group could get together and negotiate a better price if we had 25 or 50 people sign up or whatever. The aesthetics are a concern, and we had some input there from Henry on some attractive, smaller, bear-proof containers, and so that kind of thing would have to be researched. But we did feel that the present situation is, or the one that we were in before the town moved to the immediate present situation where it was wide open, would only get worse because word continues to get around to more and more people, and we would have to deal with it at some point.
Thank you. Are there any questions to any of the groups about what you heard?
I would like to ask a question to number one group. They said there were 3 entities in the town, and I'm wondering if they missed the 4th entity, which are the nonprofits that are interspersed throughout the town, who own cottages, the Billy Graham Association, etc. I think they're big enough to be represented.
That's one that, you're right, that is other entities in this community that many of us forget about. We pass them and they're just part of the landscape, and so we don't think about them.
The point was a community collaboration among whatever the entities are.
Right, among whatever the entities are. Okay.
Thank
All right, that's very helpful, thank you. Other questions? Yes.
The question came up in our group as well about the compactor and how you would handle recycle. Would you still need to have a separate truck for that, or would you pull a trailer behind it, or how would the recycles work with the compactor truck? Because the ones that are combined are usually really big and they might not work on our roads.
Or a separate pickup,
Or a separate.
whether you have to separate the
Well,
pickup was the
I
question.
can only speak for Black Mountain, and I can tell you what it is. It is 2 trucks on the same day. The first one comes, and recycling is only every other week, and they come and they pick it up. Recycle has to be put in either a container or the blue bags, and they're very specific about what is recyclable.
Right.
You don't know how lucky you are.
What I was saying was that what would be the plan from the town's perspective? I know what Black Mountain.
I think but what I'm saying is, I don't know if they have an answer yet.
Well, that's why I was asking the
Right,
question.
but that's a good question
That was
to
the
ask,
question came up.
unless Ron has an answer.
Well, real quickly, the idea with the option 1 was to do two routes, 2 runs. So we would have the packer truck go first, and then the smaller truck come up behind it to get recycled. And just a real quick point, I don't know how many of y'all remember, back when Dan was president at the college, we did have what was called a community, I've just blocked the name, Synergy, thank you, meetings, and sanitation was part of that. The college chose not to participate straight off the bat. MRA, again, the contract between the town and the MRA came out of that process. One thing that we cannot provide is dumpster service. And dumpster service is key to those entities, and that's why we cannot provide a full set of services to the college or the conference center.
But it's a group that could contract those out, even if the town can.
Right, and what we've discovered is contracting is good for your first year, and then from then on it gets very expensive. So you end up paying more in the long run. But we certainly could look at it again.
And just for a point of reference, if you watch your TV news every evening in Buncombe County, Waste Pro is on the line in Buncombe County because people have not had their garbage picked up for weeks on
He's got a
end.
good facilitator. He's taking the position.
I have one question, not in the group, but what's the cost per ton to make the garbage disappear?
Versus recyclables.
Versus what?
Recyclables.
No, I'm not sure I care about the recycle as much, you just don't, what, because the recycling didn't go down in what you presented. Really and truly, the main tonnage that dropped off was the garbage. So what's the cost per ton for the town to manage the garbage?
I'm thinking that, now again, this is off the top of my head, so please don't hold me to it. But I was thinking it's about $280, $290. Is that a year? So it would be, divide that by 12, is what we can do it monthly fee. But yeah, I was thinking it was about $300 per household a year.
Oh, per house. That's not.
Who's asking tonnage?
Oh, I thought you said cost, I'm
No,
sorry.
yeah, tonnage cost. What's the cost in town to haul it?
Oh, I'm sorry,
Each of those
okay.
hauls.
All right. The tonnage is $43 per ton, and the haul is $159 roughly, or $152.90, so about $153 a haul. Now, recycling does not have a tonnage fee, so all you have for recycling is your haul fee. With recycling, you would have to have a room full of recyclables, about this big in order to be able to process it and to sell it, which is why they take it for free, but they don't give you any money for it. We do not receive any money for recyclables. I'm sorry?
We only have to pay to haul it there, not.
That's correct. We have
not
to
tonnage.
haul it, dump it on the
The
floor.
more recyclables we do, the better.
Right, we just pay the haul fee. That's correct.
That's right, that's more cost effective to recycle.
Yeah, actually, we ran some numbers. It's cheaper just to throw it in the garbage. Not that I said to do that, please.
Oh, you were scared to run. I was worried about recycling, being held 2 weeks. The temptation would just be to throw it in the garbage, and
That's
just
right.
for being good citizens, I hate to encourage people not to recycle.
And I would say with people coming in and out as much as they do, the weekly recycling actually works for us. If we left it to, we would have a mess around town.
Yes.
I have a question. If there's exploration about contracting, which might be something to explore, and then there's also the possibility of purchasing the new garbage truck that compacts the garbage, how will the recycling be picked up? Will that be another truck, or will that same truck be used for recycling? Okay. I missed
The
that.
compactor truck would be used just for garbage. The recycling truck, we'd use a flatbed truck for and just toss it in and take it over and dump it.
Okay.
I would like to ask for a consideration of sort of a meantime suggestion. If, when garbage pickup goes to once a week in a few weeks, if there would be a possibility of the dump being open, say, one morning or one afternoon or a week, in the middle of that time period week with no fee.
That's something the board will have to consider.
That's what I'm asking, if they would consider it.
Yes.
We have that.
One of the things I thought, and maybe you got it, but I don't think you did, that Richard DeBose is new, that Maurer is new, we're gonna have a new mayor, and that those are three people who could creatively think. We don't have to do the details, but they could creatively think, understanding that garbage is a national issue among us and a major thing to consider as we work our life together.
Okay, thank you. Others? All right, then it concludes what we were here to. All that has been recorded, and some good suggestions have come out.
Before everybody leaves, we have a survey here that we'd like for you to fill out. If you don't mind, who didn't pick one up?
Ron, let me ask you a question about the survey. Nowhere on there does it refer to bear-proof cans. I mean, it says when I put it in a can, or I fill up a can, do you consider bear-proof can?
I do,
Okay.
for a container.
Okay.
Well, let me ask you a question about the current ordinance. The current ordinance reading something in the text that you need to put your garbage out at the time that it's picked up to minimize bear invasion or crow invasion. And if that doesn't work, you then have to get a bear-proof container.
That's correct.
It's morning of pickup is when the cans go out, and then it has to be removed by the end of the day.
If it doesn't work, you have to buy a bear-proof container.
Thank you, Sam, for helping us today with this discussion. Sanitation is a big issue for us, and as you had so many different ideas in your groups, we've had just as many with the board of commissioners as they've been talking about it. You've given them some good things to think about as they make this decision for sanitation going forward. Please fill out this form and give it to us. That will also inform the board as they make those decisions. And I thank you all for coming today. If there's nothing from the commissioners, a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion?
We thank you for this opportunity, and we hope it's just the beginning of a new way of coming together as a community.
Thank you very much. We're very grateful that you all took the time this morning to come and share with us your thoughts about garbage. Those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? I can't remember all the commissioners. The meeting's adjourned. Thank you. 5 in favor, none